So I'm a Jew born in the Soviet Union. I was a math prodigy, and I hate playing chess. Not typical, maybe even heretical. Jews playing chess is one of the sources of pride for the Jewish people, almost like Supreme Court justices and Nobel Prize winners. Why, last year, a top-ranked Jewish, Russian, Israeli grandmaster defeated Iran. In the Rabin Square in Tel Aviv, he played simultaneous games of chess on 523 boards. 19 hours it took him. He won over 80% of his games and thus beat the Guinness World Record that previously belonged to the Iranians. In this, I am even at odds with one of my heroes, and happens to be my boss, Natan Sharansky. This icon of human rights movement and Jewish striving for freedom played chess in his head while he was in the Soviet Gulag for 9 years. Many hours in the punishing cell, he played game after game after game. He says he won every one of them. Now, it could be that one reason I hate chess is because my father, when he was teaching me, wouldn't let me win very much. But that's the clinical psychologist in me talking. The real reason I don't like playing chess is because at every point in the game, there are too many possibilities. There are too many choices. You have to think through, and you will never come up with the right answer. I think in leadership, what is required to run and lead an organization is quickness, decisiveness, ability to make a choice quickly. Jack Welch famously said that running an organization is like changing tires on a car traveling 65 miles an hour. No time to deal with the chess clock. In fact, the only game of chess that I do like is what's called blitz chess, when you have a very limited time to make the decisions. This is not the Jewish way, right? I mean, think about the page of Talmud. Rabbi thus and such thinks so-and-so, and Rabbi so-and-so thinks thus and such. And as the old Jewish joke goes, you're right, and you're right, and you're right. Wrong. Willingness to make mistakes by acting quickly, not mistakes of incompetence, as the author of the Checklist Manifesto wrote. Not mistakes where you know what to do because there were others that had gone before you, but mistakes of ignorance. Mistakes where you don't know what to do and you can figure it out by making the decision and making a mistake. That's one of the qualities of leadership that I think we must possess. We have created a culture where there are more leaders than there are followers. You're on a federation committee, you're a leader. You made a donation, you're a leader. Great chess players don't necessarily become great leaders. Chess is not a team sport. We had forgotten one of the most important definitions of leadership that comes from Peter Drucker. Leaders are people who have followers. You need the skills and the imagination to make decisions quickly and also to inspire people. Now, in order to inspire others, you have to be inspired yourself. I was first inspired by a pair of pants. In 1975, when my family and I applied for visas to leave the former Soviet Union, and my parents lost their jobs, within a couple of months, we started to get these packages from abroad. And the packages contained clothes, nylons, sneakers, and that very first package we got, I will never forget. It had a pair of Levi's jeans in them. Now, for a 16-year-old Russian boy, a pair of Levi's jeans was more desirable than a date. In fact, you could get a date because you were wearing a pair of Levi's jeans. They were worth more than a month's salary that my father would make. But I couldn't put them on. They were there so we could sell them and live. And we've gotten those packages and we got more jeans in months to come, right until the time when we were able to leave the former Soviet Union. Now, I learned later on, by meeting the guy who actually invented the program, who recently passed away, that this idea of sending clothes into the former Soviet Union for the people who were deprived of jobs and livelihood because they wanted to leave the former Soviet Union was an idea that was developed, and people who had no idea who I was, who have never met me or my family or thousands of others, were sending packages behind the Iron Curtain because we were fellow Jews. And this idea that I was treated as if I were part of the family inspired me. It inspired me, it eventually led me to become a Jewish communal professional. The vision that inspires me today is derived still from that vision. It is a vision of a global Jewish family with a mission. The mission to make the world a more holy and a more whole place. And if you're interested in leadership, or if you're talking to somebody who is interested in leadership, ask them what is their grand vision. How do you see where you will be when you're at the end of that vision? We Jews have a history of extraordinary visions. Think about Abraham and his vision of the Jewish people and the one God. Think of Moses. Think of Joseph and his vision of Jews thriving in Egypt. Think of Jonathan Berzahai and his vision of Jewish survival without the temple and outside of the land of Israel. Think of Herzl and Ben-Gurion and their vision of returning to the land. Why, 25 years ago, on December 6th, the vision of Elie Wiesel and Natan Sharansky of gathering hundreds of thousands of American Jews on the Washington National Mall to bring about a new exodus, an exodus that brought more than 3 times the number of Jews of the original exodus to the land of Israel and other places of democracy. That vision came true. And now, today, we are living in an unprecedented Jewish times. Now think about this. Not even in King David's times were we as powerful with a state as strong as we currently have. Then we were surrounded by various empires that were fighting each other, and the Jewish state, only in David's time, was strong enough to withstand it. But there were still either the Syrians, or the Egyptians, or the Persians, or the Turks, and now we're stronger than all of them. We have more wealth than in King Solomon's times. Never has the Jewish world possessed as much wealth as we currently do. We have more scholarship and intellectual power than even in the times when they were writing the Talmud. Yet, we bicker. Who is a Jew? Who is a rabbi? Are we right? Are we left? Are we Zionists? Are we post-Zionists? Is it better to bring kids on a trip for 10 days or send them to camp or send them to Jewish day school? Where are the visionaries? Where are the prophets among us? Where are the kings and queens? Or are we bound to live with pawns, with delusions of grandeur? Leadership requires courage, imagination, decisiveness and quickness, willingness to make mistakes, to be inspired by our heritage, and to inspire others with a compelling vision. That's my recipe for leadership. That's my game plan. What's yours? Want to play white?